Saphinde satheleka thina nentandokazi yohlelo lithanda kakhulu Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right, live and direct to you here on SABC 1 Mzansi for Show. Sifikile kaJali intokazi izonifundisa kabanzi ngezinto phela ezibalekile kuni bathengi. Sizokupha phela ithuba lokuthi nawe ube ingxenye yohlelo. Ushayele nje ucingo ku 011-714-6918 or 714-6919. Email address yethu akakashintshi sathi consumer@sabc.co.za. Ungasithola futhi ku Facebook or follow us on Twitter. Ithini namhlanje indaba mbukeli. Well, it's been almost 10 years since the National Credit Act was passed, among other things, to curb reckless lending. But the problem still persists. Now, this year, the National Consumer Tribunal, the NCT, received double the number of complaints related to reckless lending compared to last year. This practice has left many consumers sinking in debt. Unompumelelo Mthethwa wenze nalo uphando.
Ngaphambilini ukwetelekisa ngemali ngobudedengu kwakuvamile kakhulu komashonisa. Kodwa manje izintolo zithi namanye amabhange amakhulu nawo ayabandakana kulokhu. Icala elinye lamabhange abolekisa ngemali ngobudedengu lisenkantolo sikhuluma nje. Unthabiseng Phadi oyi-Financial Wellbeing Consultant yase-Summit Financial Partners uthi balwisana nababolekisi imali abatshelekisa ngemali ngendlela engavumelani nge-The National Credit Act.
We've come to fight it in such a way that now, and even the National Credit Act has amended that whenever a creditor has to grant a consumer any type of debt, there must be a financial assessment done to see that that consumer does qualify.
Unavita Noful oyi-legal advisor ehhovisi le-The Credit Ombuds uthi banamacala amaningi lapho khona abathengi benika isikweletu bengazange besicele futhi kungazange kuhlolwe nokuthi bazokwazi ukusikhokhela na.
We find that there's a trend in that reckless credit may have been extended by the credit provider, not necessarily to the knowledge of the consumer. So what initially came through to our office as a simple statement of account matter then developed into an affordability issue and a possible reckless credit.
The tribunal ngonyaka ondlule ibinamacala angaphezulu kuka 9,000 okubolekisa ngobudedengu bemali kodwa kulonyaka eqile ku 10,000. Ukunqoba ukubolekiswa kwemali ngobudedengu umthetho omusha ophoqa ukuthi bonke ababolekisa ngemali bebhalise ku the National Credit Regulator. Nangoba the Consumer Protection Act ithi bonke ababolekisa ngemali besebenzise indlela eyodwa yokubona ukuthi umthengi uzokwazi yini ukukhokhela isikweletu kodwa kunalabo abangawuqhezi iqakala lomthetho. Ilungelo lakho lishayele enye yezinombolo esizithole edolobheni lapho khona bethembisa ukunika isikweletu noma usezincwadini ezimnyama phecelezi ublacklistiwe.
Ngibona iposter yenu ukuthi nibolekisa ngemali. Oh, okay, but inkinga yami bhuti ngi-blacklisted.
No, I see problem uzoqualify.
Oh, okay, ngifuna like u-50,000.
Yeah, njengoba ngisho ngizothi ngayi-3 month statement ne-IDM credit uzofunda e-SMS either uzofexa u-email ama-documents wakho or you can come straight to the office. Ukucheckela nje ukuthi uzoqualify for mali.
Akuphelanga ngisho imizizu sayithola i-SMS enayo yonke imininingwane yezinto ezidingakalayo. Unavita uthi ababolekisa ngemali ngendlela esemthethweni abakuniki isikweletu uma ublacklistiwe. Kodwa okuyingozi ukuthi abathengi abablacklistiwe baya kubabolekisa imali abangomahamba ngendlwane.
Many times consumers would approach a mashonisa, for example, and that's because they've been told upfront by a financial institution, sorry, we're not extending credit to you any longer because we've done an affordability assessment as per the regulated legislation and you don't qualify for credit. Now, what does that consumer who is highly desperate do? they actually then approach a mashonisa. And the dangers with this is that mashonisas, they take away your ID, sometimes they take away your bank card, your SASSA card. We've had a number of matters relating there too as well.
Unthabiseng uthi labo abanikezana ngesikweletu ngendlela yobudedengu nabo bangazibona sebezigwaze ngowabo.
We then challenge the credit provider, and we request that the credit provider should have done a thorough assessment check back before granting the consumer the type of loan. But now that the loan has been granted and the consumer is so over-indebted that she cannot afford to pay some of those debt, the debt gets to be written off, whereby sometimes the consumer cannot even, we write the debt off in such a way that the consumer would not even pay a cent towards that credit provider.
Ongqongqoshe bathi ukuze abathengi begweme ukucinywa izikweletu kumele bekwazi ukuzilawula ngendlela efanele. Abathengi bayaxwayiswa ukuthi bebhale phansi izidingo zabo ngaphambi kokuthatha isikweletu. Uma bebona ukuthi angeke bekwazi ukusikhokhela bengasithathi. Unompumelelo Mthethwa, Yilungelo Lakho, eGoli.
Siyabonga kakhulu kuMamthethwa ngalo mbiko. Manje ukhuluma kabanzi-ke ngenkinga phela yokutshelekisa kwezimali nokubudedengu kubathengi abangakwazi ukuyikhokha. Masamukele uMiss Jacqueline Peters obuye kwi-National Credit Regulator, yona-ke ebhekana nendlela phela ekunikezwa ngayo izikweletu. Sinayo noMr. Kobus Burger obuye kwi-Summit Financial Partners. We're also hoping to be joined very soon by Ubhuti Utami Bolani from the Consumer Rights NGO, Consumer Fair. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
All right, wait, let's understand your organizations first. Jacqueline, let's start with you.
Well, the National Credit Regulator was established in terms of the National Credit Act. We are the regulator watchdog that is empowered to enforce the provisions of the Act, make sure that there's a fair and transparent credit market. The Act was there to obviously level the playing fields between consumers and credit providers.
Kobus, I know the Summit Partners was recently in the news. You got very famous because of a certain case that we won't mention, but do tell us what it is that you guys do.
Alicia, basically what it comes down to is we assist consumers with financial well-being and financial literacy. So if you have any queries or any any questions with regards to your finances, you can approach Summit. We'll assist you. We'll assist you with regards to what your financial status is, together with whether the credit providers you have approached, have approached in the past or want to approach in the future, whether they handled you in the correct way, whether they kept in accordance to the law or not, and should they have not, we tackle them on any mistakes we find.
Is there any relation between the two organizations, Jacqueline?
Relations as in?
In terms of working together?
Well, obviously, I mean, as the regulator, we always accept complaints from any institution and we would investigate them.
All right. Well, let's get to the program now. You saw the insert. I mean, a call was made after an advertisement was seen saying that you could acquire a loan of any amount by calling a certain number. And as you saw on the insert, the call was made and an SMS was received shortly after that for confirmation to say, listen, just bring us your bank statements and your 3 months pay slip. You will definitely get the loan, even if you are blacklisted. I mean, how does that work? Jacqueline?
Look, you know, firstly, the first thing we need to tackle is you can't advertise in that manner. The Act is outlawed to say blacklisted welcome, over-indebted consumers, and the point is that over-indebted consumers should not be getting credit. What was interesting that I noticed, obviously, was that he was saying, bring me your pay slip, bring me your ID book, and then you could get the loan. So someone is trying to do an affordability assessment or trying to have the correct documents in file, but it's more of a tick box exercise. We're not actually scrutinizing these documents, and that's what the Act requires, really. It's to say, get the payslip, but have a look at the payslip and make sure that there is the correct income on there, that there's no emolument attachment, garnishee orders on there. If you're pulling a bank statement, scrutinize what's in this bank statement. The point of these documents is to do a good assessment to obviously fully understand the consumer's position and whether they can afford this credit. So this person is clearly flouting the provisions of the Act, just doing a tick box exercise. And I mean, those sorts of breaches will never be tolerated by the regulator, and we'll investigate those.
We're going to get back into how far you can investigate and how does an investigation come about. Kobus, your comment on the insert as well.
It's actually unbelievable. When a person is blacklisted, already they have not paid back their debts, they have judgments against them, etc. Now, as soon as any credit provider has a look at that, or has a look at your credit record, and they see that you are a bad payer, why will they grant you any credit? It's like, it's actually unbelievable. You cannot grant somebody credit if they have a bad credit record. Now, yes, it sounds bad when you also think of you taking away the right to somebody's right to approach a credit provider or to try and get credit. But at the end of the day, these credit providers, especially indicating that they can grant you loans while blacklisted, they are actually abusing the process and abusing your vulnerability to get money, because they know they can always fall back on, always try and get an emoluments attachment order, and we know what kind of abuse is happening with that out there. Getting emoluments attachment order, sort of try and take away, any regulation there can be to get back the money.
But what makes it so difficult for these type of lenders then, Jacqueline, to abide by the legislation? Because I believe if you're a micro lender, you also have to abide by the same legislation that governs all the big lenders.
Absolutely. The legislation is prescriptive and it's applicable to everyone that's in the credit market. It's not difficult to abide. And if a person doesn't abide, you would find that the regulator is going to take action. So, to intentionally disregard provisions it's not due to the difficulty to apply these rules to your business. It's just obviously a clear disregard, which will never be accepted.
Let's talk about that. I mean, what kind of action would you take? I mean, we saw there on the posters the numbers. These people, you can reach them at the same time and they send you an SMS immediately.
Look, the National Credit Regulator investigates hundreds of matters. So we have a complaints department which deals with getting immediate redress for consumers. But our investigations department investigates to make sure that if it is a conduct which is so damning that we would not want someone like that in our industry, we will take action to refer them to the tribunal. Last year we referred 59 matters, mostly on reckless lending around micro-lenders, to the National Consumer Tribunal.
And how were these brought to your attention, Jacqueline?
Different manners. So the regulator will obviously have people that would advise us of something that they've noticed. It would be through our complaints department, individual consumers complaining, and then we'd obviously also do our compliance checks, have a look at what's going on in the media, listen to what's on the radio, and then we'd obviously initiate stuff in our own name.
Jacqueline, leave it there. We're going to take a quick ad break. Mbukeli ungayindawo izoshisa indaba emva kwale ad break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Mbukeli udaba lethu la namhlanje ke lubhekene nokuthi phela ukubolekisa kwezimali kumele ngempela kube njani, yini ekumele ababolekisi bayenze ngokomthetho. Khumbula ke Mbukeli usungasishayela ucingo ku 0117146918 or 71466919. Usithumele email ku consumer@sabc.co.za or visit our Facebook page. You can also send us a tweet. Kobus, in terms of complaints, do you also get such complaints that are related to an advertisement that was sent at the summit?
Well, not necessarily with regard to advertisements specifically. It is when our clients come to us, we do their financial assessment, then we catch up, listen, some of these loans are reckless, some of these are not. And should we find that there are any reckless loans, of course we lodge a complaint with the credit regulator, which we work with. I think people in our office talk daily or even weekly, even more. But yes, then we normally approach a credit regulator, send them complaints. We are debt counselors as well, so then we go to court on some of these reckless lending matters where you can ask your debt counsellor to approach, or we approach court directly. As you've mentioned earlier in the media, it was quite widely published when we took on one of the banks. So it depends on what bigger scale it is. If we see a lot of our clients with the same problem at the same credit provider, then we'll decide, okay, we're going to tackle this on our own or approach the court directly. Yes, of course, also laying the complaint with the regulator, because their backup is also always welcomed. But But yeah, we found that if we approach court directly, it's sometimes a bit quicker and we can have a bit more, bigger say in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, Kobus, I mean, I know we can't mention the bank, but maybe just to familiarize our viewers, take us through what type of complaint was brought to Summit Partners for you guys to take the matter to the stage that it was taken.
Yes, definitely. Well, basically where it originated was one of our big clients is a mining company in the Platinum Belt. And of course, they've signed up Summit, and this is not an advertisement, but they've signed up Summit as a financial well-being provider. We've talked to the people on the ground, the miners, etc., and we found that credit was granted to them in a period that they were on strike. So we all know when miners are on strike, they do not get any income.
Yes.
Yet credit was granted to them. So, and the type of credit that was granted was also looked at. So a specific product was sold to these consumers, yet they do not fully understand what this will entail and what charges will be accumulated and not. So that's where it started off. We talked to a lot of these guys on the ground, and we found the abuse that was happening on, and we decided to approach court on it. So, that's where the consumers didn't know what they were getting into, firstly. And secondly, it was, what they were getting into. And secondly, if you know somebody's not going to be able to pay you next month,
why are you giving them the money?
Credit? Yes. So unfortunately, always there's a balancing act with it. As I said earlier, if you're not getting a salary, you still have stuff to pay. But instead of a credit provider, again, abusing his position with regards to, listen, I have capital to be able to give it to you. Let me let you fully understand what's happening, what is going to happen if you default, and try to get you the best product out there. And not just, great, here's a lot of people standing in queue to get money, and now I'm going to abuse my position. So there's a big responsibility on the credit providers and also on the consumers. But if I'm a consumer, I want to know what I'm getting into. And unfortunately, those guys, they don't know what they're getting into. So that's where it started.
Jacqueline, I mean, you spoke of compliance checks that you do earlier on, but I want you to first take us through the importance of lenders, be it micro lenders or big lenders, doing that affordability check.
Look, ultimately, the purpose of the Act is to make sure that people that can afford loans are the ones that are getting loans. So the importance is, I mean, for a big lender, they have statutory reporting to the Reserve Bank to show that they are actually complying and that they have enough funds to support themselves for the monies that they've lent out, but also to make sure that the clients that they're lending to obviously are able to repay them. Equally for the smaller lenders, the ultimate point is that you should not be over-indebting someone. You should not be putting someone in a worse off position had they not got your loan. So I think that's the first thing. And obviously to fully understand the situation, as Kobus had said, look at one, can the person afford? But two, also look at the kind of product. So if they can afford, have a look at the kind of product that you can give them that best suits their needs. So it's almost a needs analysis. You're looking at affordability, you're having a look at the position of the consumer, can they afford a loan? And then you would be able to give them a product that obviously best suits their needs.
And how do you then enforce the Act in terms of doing the compliance checks? How does that work?
Well, look, compliance checks is obviously where we are obviously having a look at going into credit providers, and it's not the same as an investigation. We look at general compliance. It would be your hand-holding, your good cops going in, having a look at things. Your investigations is something where, we're going to obviously take action against an entity. After a compliance check, they would generally refer, if it is a gross misconduct of the Act or breaches of the Act, to the investigations department, and that's where we take enforcement. Our investigations are on the ground. We have a discussion with the credit providers. We would take samples, assess the documents. We would obviously engage with consumers who are affected, and then ultimately decide on the enforcement action you can take, be it a referral, be it a compliance notice, to obviously best remedy the situation at hand.
And Kobus, how do you guys then do an investigation for your clients?
Well, basically we will start off with doing looking at the consumer's finances.
Yeah.
What's his income? What's his expenses? What is his monthly installments with regards to loans and so on? And then we have a look at what he could have afforded before he took out this loan. And we use that as a criteria to make sure that, or to actually decide whether the loan that was granted was reckless or not. Now, there are various regulations in the National Credit Act and some legislation, some case law where judges set out exactly what you need to take into account or not.
Okay, Kobus, hold it there. You're going to go into detail, but it's time for us to take another quick ad break. Mbukeli, siyabuya khona manje. Do stay with us. Siphinde sikwamukele futhi mbukeli ngehleli lana noMiss Jacqueline Peters we-NCR kanye noMr Kobus Burger we-Summit Partners. Mbukeli, wena-ke shesha usishayele ucingo ngoba phela usixoxele kabanzi ukuthi usixoxele kabanzi rather ukuthi umthetho uthini mayelana nokuboleka kwezimali. Remember, we are taking your calls on 0117146918 or 7146919. You can still email your views to consumer@sabc.co.za. Akasibheke ukuthi nithini lapha Facebook unathi Grootboom uthi kutheni zingavalwa ezindawo xana kufumaniseka zenze uphoqophololo kanti lo hulumente usebenza njani xana abantu bakuthi bazongena ezingxakini ezinkulu kanje. Well, the lady is basically asking there, why are these institutions then not shut down if it is found that they are lending scrupulously? Jacqueline?
They are. So when you refer to the National Consumer Tribunal, one of the ramifications is that the regulator can ask the tribunal to cancel this entity. So we would ask for prohibited conduct, we would ask for a fine, we would ask for a cancellation of this entity. So this is happening. As and when you find these entities contravening the law, we would refer to the tribunal, and then the tribunal can make an order to close their doors.
All right. Who wants to take this one? Gobadev DCSD says, please explain about the prescription period, because I still get calls for a 15-year-old debt.
That's Kobus. Well, basically what the prescription period is, from the date of default, basically the last payment you made on your debt, that company has 3 years to institute action against you to get back the money. So they can either issue summons against you or bring an acknowledgement of debt that you can sign. Now, if they do not do that within 3 years, they are not allowed to collect on this debt. So that prescription period is 3 years. So let's say, for instance, the last payment I made to my debt was on the 1st of January 2007. Then they have 1st January 2008, 2009, 2010. If they do not act in any way, by either issuing summons or having US consumer signing an acknowledgement of debt, they are not allowed to collect on that debt anymore. The debt is prescribed. Now, you get a lot of collectors out there, and collectors and credit providers that come and they bully the consumers. Tell them, listen, if you're not going to do this, I'm going to list you as a bad payer. I'm going to knock out your knees with a baseball bat or whatever. You get very bad stories out there. But you should not entertain those people at all. If you know you have not, it's been 3 years since your last payment towards that debt, you should not entertain any queries or any questions or any documents being served on you.
All right. Okay, let's take our last one for now. Zandile Zana Otangasa says, Majali kukho ezi cash loans zithathe i-ID box or amakhadi wabantu. Ingaba kusemthethweni ukuthatha izinto zabantu. Ndiyibona njani ukuba i-registered kwa NCR le ndawo yokubolekisa. Ndinalo ilungelo lokubuza ukuba i-registered le ndawo. Basically, she's asking, there are cash loan places that take ID books or cards, and is this legal? And is it legal for them to take to take possession of a person's cards or an ID book? And then she says, how do I know if this place is registered with the NCR? And do I have the right to ask if a place is registered with the NCR?
Absolutely. So it's twofold, this question. Let me tackle the easy part. For a consumer, if you walk into a lender, you should see a window decal So it's a sticker on the front door or a certificate in the offices of a registered credit provider. These are the first things you should be looking out for. When you're signing the contract, the NCR registration number needs to be on the contract. Usually you'll find it on the top right-hand side of your contract. You can also call the National Credit Regulator or go on our website, you type in the name, or you speak to our call centre, they can tell you whether or not this entity is registered. So that's the first part. It's quite easy for a consumer if they know what to look out for. The second thing is, no, it's absolutely illegal for someone to keep a consumer's bank card, your SASSA card, your ID book, or even ask for your PIN. And this is a practice which we find is happening quite often in your more rural areas. You would also find maybe a registered entity keeping consumers' cards and ID books. The regulator has been going on operations across the country for a long period of time, and we will continue to do that, where we will go in, you go with the police, and people that are found in possession of consumers' ID books and bank cards are arrested, and we will follow criminal prosecution. It is a crime, and consumers must just remember, when someone is asking you to hand over your ID book or your bank card, it's not only that that's the crime, but the kind of credit provider that's doing that is going to be, generally from our experience when we investigate, the kind of credit provider that's overcharging you, the kind of credit provider that's going to take illegal enforcement action. So the minute someone is asking you to do that, you should report it to us, because we would like to take action against them. But step away. It is not in your best interest to get involved in that sort of credit space, because it's not going to do good for you or your family.
You know, somebody was asking, Thabo Stellenbosch, I'm going to get back to you just now. Somebody was asking, if I borrow money illegally, is it just as good as a gift? Because then, I mean, I'm not liable to pay it back, Kobus.
No, no, unfortunately not. Now, to get back to reckless lending on that is, again, let's say your loan was reckless. You approached a debt counsellor and he approached court or the credit regulator to have a look at whether this loan was reckless. Now, there can be one of three outcomes on that. Firstly, the loan can be suspended. Basically, okay, instead of you needing to pay back this loan by December 2016. We extend this period until December 2017, giving you a breather to make sure that your financial situation changes for you to be able to pay back this loan. The second one can be that the terms are altered. So instead of your installment being 1,000 Rand a month, it can be lowered to 500 Rand a month so that you can afford it. The third one, and that's, I'm not going to say in extreme cases, but that is if there was gross negligence. Yes, then the loan can be written off. So the consumer should never think that, okay, because there's one aspect of reckless lending, my loan is going to go away. It's unfortunately not that easy.
You're still entitled to pay. Thabo Stellenbosch, insizwa siyabonga ukuthi ubambe siyakamukela hleleni umbuzo noma umbono wakho.
Okay, ngifuna ukubuza kulo mama wa NCR.
Yebo bhuti.
Ikho indawo ebolekisa imali andazi noba ke ndingayibiza ngegama okanye ndiyeke na.
Hayi ungalibiza igama bhuti Thabo, khuluma nje.
Okay, sure right, angizulibiza. Okwenzekayo le ndawo iyabanceda abantu and iyabolekisa ngemali. So umbuzo wami umnye wokuba ingaba inzala le bayifumanayo bayizalisela abantu ngayo ingaba ixhomekeke kubo okanye ufanele ba lo mama bakwa NCR abafanele bagqibe kuba kaloku baye bafuna i-payslip yakho ukuthi okay ngabe uyaqualify na for HR emveni koba okay kuthiwa uyaqualify baphinde bathi emveni kweminyaka emibili kuthi hayi singayithoba inzala yakhe nge-2%. Ingabe ezo zinto zenzeka kanjani kuba uthi wawubhatala uthi wawufumana le mali uyidablisha kathathu kuyesininzi yenza umzekelo mhlawumbe i-10,000 uzibona sewubhatala i-38,000 ingaba yenza kanjani lokho?
Okay, but Thabo, all right, siyabonga kakhulu nsizwa ubukele nje umabonakude wakho sizowuphendula umbuzo wakho shortly after this break. Do stay with us mbukele. Okay, welcome back to Yilungelo Lakho. Ngashayela ucingo ku 011 714 6918 or 714 6919 is where you can reach us with your comments on questions on today's topics. Khuluma ngokuthi phela abantu bayibolekisa kanjani imali ngokusemthethweni, and you can also express your views about our programs on our email consumer@sabc.co.za. Alternatively, like our Facebook page or do follow us on Twitter, AVC Trendy. All right, now Jacqueline, I have explained the question to you, but I mean we've just received an SMS as well. Similarly, the person says, I borrowed 1,800 Rand and I'm now having to pay back 40,000 Rand. I mean, how is this interest rate? Is it regulated?
Absolutely. So the Act prescribes specific interest rates. So the first caller, yes, the interest rate is regulated. The interest rate needs to be disclosed on your credit agreement. And the purpose of that is so that consumers can upfront, before we get into these sorts of agreements, understand what we're getting ourselves into. Possibly for the second caller, the issue is a little bit more complex. It would be a credit provider would have charged, we would hope, a specific interest rate. And as time has gone by, they have charged extra fees for collections or, you know, the emolument attachment orders. And I think Kobus raised an interesting discussion around that, what they have found. But interest rates, the rate specifically is regulated, but there's even a step further. There is also that you cannot charge more than double the default amount. So that means it's a principle called in duplum, where if a consumer defaults, so say this consumer on the 1,800 Rand did not repay on their on time and never made another payment on that credit agreement, there is a specific cap, and it's nowhere near 40,000 Rand that person would be repaying. So there is obviously some flouting there, and I would urge these consumers to really approach the National Credit Regulator's complaints department so we can give them assistance.
Kobus, what do you want to say?
Yeah, just to add on to that, the interest rate specifically is you get a short-term interest rate, or short-term loan interest rate, and a long-term loan. Now, a short-term loan is a loan for the time period of less than 12 months and a capital amount of less than 8,000 Rand. So as soon as you're borrowing more than 8,000 Rand or your term is more than 12 months, then it's a long-term loan. So if you have taken out a short-term loan, being less than 12 months and less than 8,000 Rand, they're allowed to charge 5% per month, being 60% per annum. If it's a long-term loan, being anything more than 12 months or more than 8,000 Rand, they're allowed to charge roughly 32% per annum. So there's a big difference between the two, and the consumers must watch out for the interest rate they are being charged.
Kobus, I hear these are types of cases that you deal with on a regular basis, and we particularly dealt with one on our program last week about a 500 Rand loan.
10,000.
I mean, how is that one going? What's the resolution there?
Well, we're approaching court now. Of course, when you start off with something like this, you always approach the collector or the credit provider directly, tell them, listen, this is the abuse you see, either fix this or we're going to take it further. These collectors decided not to fix it, so we are approaching court on it. Now, just to add a little bit on the induplum, as Jacqueline said, in this questions, the second question specifically, that employee or that consumer was not supposed to pay back more than 1,800 Rand times 2. So that's 3,600 Rand. To pay back anything more than that will be an abuse. So if you pay back 40,000 Rand on that, that's...
It's questionable.
Not even questionable, it's illegal.
It's illegal. Okay, niyezwa ke babukela ukuthi mangabe uyabona ukuthi cha ngeke ngathi le mali isinkulu kakhulu, nanka ama-bodies Summit Partners nayi NCR uba approach ucele usizo kubona. Sisituduzile eSoweto, siyabonga ntokazi ukubamba ucingo, siyakwamukela uhlelweni. Umbuzo noma umbono?
Umbuzo ukuthi ngenze njani?
Yebo sisitudu.
Hello.
Yebo
siyakubuza ukuthi into engiyibuzayo ukuthi abantu bayeza ube nayo low mali bayiboleke mhlambe i100 Rand bese ngizalisa mina nge50 Rand. Manje mina ngifuna ukuthi ngibolekise ngale mali ngoba iyangisiza mina ukuthi ngingayidli yonke imali yami.
Okay, so
manje nase ngilanda nase kufanele ayilethe akasayilethe soza namaphoyisa.
Okay, Mam Duduzile wena ubolekisa imali kanjani ma uregistile ne-NCR?
Angirejistanga yikho lokhu ngifuna inamba yala kurejistwa khona ngizoregister bengibolekise nje ngoba benginemadlanyana encanyana ekhona.
Okay ma, siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi wena ufuna ukwenza izinto ngomthetho. Well, Jacqueline, she wants to loan out money here, and I mean she's had a few cases where she's loaned out 100 rand with 50 rand interest, but now when people have to pay back the money, they bring back the police with them. So she wants to know how to register so that she has, you know, just means of fetching that loan.
Okay. Look, Maduduzile, you're not allowed to charge 50 rand on a 100 rand loan, so that would be the first thing. What I think is she's in Soweto.
Yes.
Our offices are in Midrand. If she wants to bring her business in line with the Act, come to our offices. She doesn't need to make an appointment, and then our registrations department will sit with her, discuss how she can register, and then definitely she needs to obviously make sure that she must bring her business in line with the Act, so that she's not obviously overcharging, and you know, then she'll have a fruitful business. If you bring it in line with the Act, you'll be shown how to do certain things, and she'll be able to collect because there'll be correct procedures that she's followed.
Is there much education around how to bring your business in line with the Act, Jacqueline, particularly with the NCR?
You know, when you register with us, you can contact us at any time, and we'll obviously give someone guidance. There are many programs. For us being here today is the education campaigns. We have an education department that does drives. We will go into the communities, speak to the communities and explain how things are done. But I mean, obviously, a person can always approach the regulator if they're facing a specific issue, a specific query. I mean, yes, you can approach your attorneys that can help you, but the regulator's door is always open. We always welcome people to come and discuss with us.
All right, I was going to ask if people have already been lending money and they're scared to come through, can they still come? But Jacqueline's going to answer that question shortly after our final commercial break. Mbukeli, siyabuya khona manje. Sesizozivala-ke izingcingo ngoba phela sesisesigabeni sophetho lohlelo lwethu namhlanje. Ithi ngithatha uMashifu Ncongwane eTrefontein la eGoli. Sakwamukela nsizwa umbuzo noma umbono.
Hello.
Hi sisi, kunjani?
Khona ninjani sisi?
Siyakwamukela sisi wami. Sicela usibuze umbuzo noma ubeke umbono.
Okay, ma bengicela ukubuza ukuthi kunabantu bangesemesele ne?
Yebo.
And then azange ngi-answer i-SMS yabo bangifonela ngelanga elilandelayo. Ngingabize igama labo.
Ungalisho igama labo sisi. SMS-ele bakufonele bathini?
Oh, bangifonela bathi ngizoqualifya i-100,000 to 200,000.
Oh, okay.
And then mabangifonela azange ngiba-answer bona bangifonela back bathi why ngingafonanga.
Okay.
Ngathi no, I'm not interested. Bathi no, bangibona ku-system yabo ukuthi nginesikoloto kanjani kanjani, and then ngibona bakanginceda bangibhadalela lesi sikoloto, and then so bathi ngideposite i-600 kubo.
Okay.
And then within 24 hours, they will deposit that money in my account. So I want to ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi basithola kanjani ama-detail wethu.
Wena sis Mashifu ubunawo lama details lawo ukuthi unesikweletu, ubuzazi wena lezo ikweletu abakhuluma ngazo?
Bengizazi.
Ubuzazi
yonke into ebebangitshela yona bathi kanjani yeah bengizazi lezi zinto bazikhulumayo.
Mashifu Ncongwane, siyabonga kakhulu sano sami. Very interesting. Well, just to bring you in there, Kobus, Jacqueline's been here a long time, so she now understands. She says she got a call from creditors saying that she qualified for a loan to consolidate her debts. They had all her details in terms of what she needed to pay back, and they offered to put a certain amount of money in her bank account so that she could start paying back the loan. I mean, she wants to know, where did they get these details, and is this legal? Who wants to start?
Well, whether you get the details, I won't be able to say. With regards to the legality of it, it's totally illegal. You cannot, if the consumer did not bring you specific documents to be able to qualify for a loan. You cannot tell them from the onset, you qualify for a loan of 100,000 or 50,000 or even 1,000 rand. There are specific documents that they need and specific stuff they need to take into consideration before they can grant you any loan. So for anybody to just send you an SMS or call you or
send you a post.
Even, I'm going to go as far as
even where I was told I qualify for a loan, and I'm like, I did not even.
Exactly, I've never been to this place. How can I qualify for a loan? These are guys taking chances. They preying on the consumer's vulnerability to want some credit, to buy your kid a nice Christmas present, etc. They are preying on that. So they are totally abusing it. It's not legal. There are various regulations needed to be taken into account before they can grant you any loan. So the consumer should not fall into that trap. They should not even entertain this. Put down the phone.
Yeah, she said
delete
she didn't answer
delete the
call.
SMS. To take away the that apple being put in front of you, or that proverbial carrot put in front of you to take out further credit. Delete that. Don't entertain it at all because it's illegal.
If I understood correctly, though, was she also being asked to pay some money to this
she was
person?
asked to put 600 rand so that the loan could be activated for her to actually receive this money. She was asked to put in 600 rand so she could receive this bulk amount for her to start paying back the debt.
I think two warning bells that consumers must pick up, and we've seen this practice. It's actually criminals. It's not even real credit providers. They sometimes would even pose as a real credit provider. So you need to be quite alert to what's going on. The minute someone is telling you, you qualify for 500,000, 200,000 at a very low interest rate, they generally would say about 3% to 3.5%. It's generally a trap. You find that consumers are in a situation that they say, well, this is great. Then they get told, look, pay this amount of money over. No credit provider is allowed to ask you to pay money up front. What happens is it's criminals posing as lenders. You'll never see any of this money, and they'll continue to ask you to pay for a release fee and for an activation fee. So consumers should not be caught in that trap. And if they were caught in that trap, they need to go to the police. The Commercial Crimes Unit is investigating these sorts of things, and they need to obviously lodge a criminal matter against these people.
So maybe then they shouldn't delete that SMS, Kobus, just to take it to the police station as proof.
If they got caught in the trap.
All right. Well, let's quickly take some Facebook messages. There's Ingi Swakati says, "Mna kunzima emhlabeni bakithi ngoba sixakekile kodwa ngithi ezi cash loans zingabhaliswanga ngokusemthethweni mazivalwe ngoba abantu bakhokha noba sesingekho isidingo saloko khanisize nisichazele kabanzi ngazo zaphela izimali zethu ngama-crooks." Well, she's basically saying, can they please be assisted in terms of understanding how this illegal lending actually works so that they don't have to pay money with money that they don't have.
How illegal lending works?
Yes.
I mean, obviously, it's a person that's obviously...
How do we report it?
You can report it to the National Credit Regulator. If you are with a debt counsellor, you can report it to your debt counsellor. If you are working and you just need assistance, go to your HR department. Your HR department will obviously assist you in getting in touch with the correct people. But yes, there's the National Credit Regulator, there's a credit ombud. You know, come to these bodies, lodge a complaint. You're not going to be charged a fee. Our complaints department is always there to assist consumers at the regulator. And then we'll assist in speaking to these entities and putting a stop to these practices.
I think also, Jacqueline, I mean, the second part of that question is they're not really sure when a lender is lending illegally. So they just go to a lender to try and borrow money. So they need more education around that. They want to get more education in terms of that.
You can once again contact the National Credit Regulator. We have an education department. We are more than happy to come into your community.
But this must be before they take that loan. They mustn't come to you when they've taken the loan.
Well,
and
if
then
they
inquire
have, we can
afterwards.
assist. We can still assist. Get in touch with us. Our education department can come. We can come into your community. We'll come into community halls and we'll educate. I mean, us being here, once again, is education. But I think what a consumer must remember is you have this internal alarm bell that's going to go off sometimes when you think, wait, this might not be right. Step away, It usually is. Step away, phone the regulator, phone someone that can give you advice before you put pen to paper.
Your closing words, Kobus?
Yeah, just to add on to Jacqueline, when the consumer takes out a loan, according to law, National Credit Act again, the credit provider should give them a quote, if I can put it like that, stating exactly what the terms are, the interest rate, the total amount you will be paying back, total interest you'll be paying back, etc. Now, they get that quote, and with that quote, I think they can approach the credit regulator, approach a company doing this, and ask, listen, I got this quote, is everything fine on this document or not? And only after everything's been checked and you've got the thumbs up from the necessary parties, then go back and take out the loan. So you have that time period that take it home, have a look over it. If it seems too good to be true, it normally is too good
Kobus, you know, when people want money, generally it's because they're in a tight position. And to really go back and forth to try and verify, I mean, what advice can we give in terms of that when you are so pressed to get money to try and settle a loan? I mean, this seems to be the continuous issue here, Jacqueline.
You know, but I think we need to look at the bigger picture. Look at the bigger picture, see, are you going to be putting yourself and your family in a better place? So although you're in a tight corner, think about the long run.
Term. All right, that's where we leave it. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. That's where we end today's show. Let me thank my studio guests for making time to be with us. Ngiphinde futhi ngibonge nani babukeli ngokuthi nibe nathi kuze kube imanje. Sihlangane futhi next week Friday for another live consumer affairs discussion. Ukhumbule ukuthola impinde ezinhlelo zethu. Please join us on the very same channel like Mahamba Phambili SABC 1 Mzansi for sure from midday until 1 p.m. Ngingu Alicia Jali, butsalani kahle.